are now listening to the Dad Rules Podcast with your hosts, Mario E. and Kid.
Welcome back to another episode of the Dad Rules Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Mario E. and Kid. What's going on?
Not much, man. Just glad to be on the pod. What you got for me today?
All right. So today we're going to talk about old dogs, new tricks. Okay. People changing, and are you the same person you used to be? We're going to talk about that today. Kid, start us off.
All right. I want to start off by saying you are not the same person that you used to be. And thank God that I'm not the same person that I used to be. The funny thing about this is it got brought to my attention. Well, I came to this idea when I was talking to a friend last week, and he had sent me a message of, I think, something that I posted on his page, and it was like lyrics to a rap song. And I just couldn't believe that I publicly put that like on his page for like everybody to see. This was like maybe my sophomore year in college. So like back then, Facebook was just for college kids. Like you had to have a college email to get on Facebook. So it was nothing but college kids on there. Or, you know, if you were at the community college or you had a 4-year university, you were able to be a part of Facebook at that time. And when he sent it to me, I just thought it was the funniest thing ever. And I was like, man, I can't believe I said that. And I was like, I put in the message, I was like, I'm ashamed. And he said, man, it's all good. He said, that happened in college. He said, you know, that's what happens when you're in college, like that. And like I said, we laughed and joked about it. And it was really cool to really look at how my mind was back then and to see the progression and how I've evolved over the years. And like I said, he did it in, you know, it wasn't negatively the way he did it. It was just, you know, he just wanted to get a quick laugh in or whatever. Right. But then I thought about it and I was like, man, we can't get caught up in who we used to be and the things that we used to do. You have to let yourself grow. You have to let yourself evolve. You have to put away your childish things. And you can't feel guilty about things that you've done in the past. Yeah. And like I said, something as innocent as what I did, you can't let your past make you a slave to it. Forget about it. Good or bad, really. Forget about it and move forward. And I thought about that when we're raising our kids, and I thought about how many dads out here feel like that they are not capable of being a good father because of all the dirt they did years ago. You may have treated everybody wrong or did everybody wrong. You could be the grimiest person in the world. But you can't let what you did, the things that you said, the people that you hurt, you can't let that bother you in your parenting. We have to let our kids make us better men, make us better people. And if you allow that process to take place, your kids will make you better. And just think about them and how you want them to be and the mistakes that you made. So like, I was so freely about putting up something that was inappropriate on social media back then. So now we're living like in a social media age where everybody's on there. Mm-hmm. So I have to advise Jonah to say, hey, be very careful about what you put on social media because it never goes away.
Right.
You know, lucky for me, it wasn't anything bad or that bad, maybe something that, you know, I shouldn't have said or whatever, but it wasn't anything that was like life ending, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started thinking about cancel culture and how people dig back 10, 15, 20 years, 30 years about things that people said or things that they did. And it's like, man, are we able to be kids anymore? Are we able to make mistakes? What if somebody tried to hold that to me? What I said and said, man, that's the person you are and that's the person you're going to be for the rest of your life. Man, I would never say anything like that now.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to allow people to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And even, I feel like even in relationships with mothers and fathers of kids, whatever the mother has done, maybe she wasn't the best mother she could be. Maybe she wasn't there. Maybe she has a drug issue with drugs. And maybe she said, I need some time to be away from my kids right now. You got custody of them, but I don't want to see them right now. I want to get myself clean before I can see them. And months go by, and then maybe even years go by, and she has not cleaned herself up and was able to see the kids. And then when she does come back, man, you can't use that against her, that she wasn't there. And even when we look at our fathers and think about if your father wasn't there and he tries to come back and make things right, are you going to hold that against him? Oh, you weren't there when I was 6. Man, you 32 years old. Let it go.
Yeah, you can't be bitter about everything.
No. And a lot of times, just going to be honest. A lot of times people are complaining about their fathers, and I'm not telling you that you should be feeling, you can't feel the way you feel. I can't say that your feelings are not valid. But if a lot of y'all, if y'all take time and sit down and ask your dad, why weren't you there? Those simple words, why weren't you there? Some of y'all will be surprised of what kept him away. I've seen it time and time again where we put blame on the dad because of who he was in the past, and we don't give him a chance to explain himself and see his side of the story. And once y'all really see this side of the story, sometimes mama didn't do what she was supposed to do.
Could be true.
Sometimes mama didn't put that invitation out there for him to come through and get you when he wanted to get you. Oh, he's supposed to call you. And I said this before. Mothers, if the dad is not there and you want him to be there, you call him. Or you tell your child to call him. Don't sit around and wait. Let people change. Let people grow. Let them make up for their mistakes.
Yeah.
Old dogs can learn new tricks.
Right.
What's your take on it?
Yeah, so, I had some takes. At first, I just kind of want to, just piggyback on a couple of things that you talked about. One of the first things you talked about was putting away childish things. The way I look at that is maturity. As we get older, we mature. And when you know better, you do better in a lot of situations. So, the way, you kind of talking about cancel culture a little bit now, I think that I can't stand myself personally. I can't stand cancel culture. I just the way that, the aggressiveness that we go after people for something that they did 30 years ago. Now, don't get me wrong. If you did something wrong 30 years ago and you haven't been held accountable for it, then, there's an element of that. If you committed some crime 30 years ago and you've slipped through the cracks and nobody's found you out, and finally somebody found you out, then yeah, you need to be held accountable for it. But the part that I vehemently disagree with as far as with cancel culture. There seems to not be any forgiveness for what someone did. And like I said, people mature, people learn, people get better. And then you want to dig into a skeleton in someone's closet to try to, gotcha. I mean, come on. That's, to me, that's corny. And, you know, you got to understand that people, I'm talking to people who are in this cancel culture, and they kind of fan those flames. You got to remember, you're not perfect either. And in 10 years from now, if someone sees that you did something that you didn't have any business doing, that same energy that you had with trying to counsel somebody else, or say that this person needs to lose everything that they got. And I'm not talking about anybody in particular. I know, you know, some of these things are constantly always going on. So don't misinterpret the line. I'm secretly got my mind on this person's case or that person's case. I'm just talking in general. You know, there needs to be a level of forgiveness there. Because with the same way that I have said things to hurt people, whether if it was intentionally or unintentionally, or the same way I have done certain things or made certain actions that hurt people's feelings or cause somebody harm, and I would want them to forgive me, I need to forgive them. You know, God forgives me, I need to forgive others. That's the way I look at that. But to your point, like I said, people change, people mature. But you gotta want to. You have to want to change. You have to want to you know, want to do something. I disagree with, you know, when people say things like, you know, I married my wife and, you know, she made me change and I'm a better man. She may have been a catalyst to help you get, but you made the change to get better. You know, you have to make that change on your own. But, you know, ultimately, man, we're constantly learning. We're constantly getting better. And I've heard it said once that if you're no longer learning, that means you're dead. Okay. And even if you're 70 years old, you can still learn. You can still be, quote unquote, the old dog learning new tricks. You can still, you know, learn from your mistakes. Something that you had, some long held belief idea that you had from 40 years ago, you know, you can learn like, that's not right, and get better. I've heard Steve Jobs said something about learn continually. Always, you know, there's one more thing to learn, you know. So no matter how old you are, you can always learn. You can always, you know, find some way to get better at whatever it is that you're doing. And, you know, you think about it like this, think about it on our whether if it's, you know, you work a job, whether if you're an entrepreneur, whatever it is, you know, continuous learning. I've heard it said like this before. Continuous learning is the minimum requirement for success in any field. Think about that. Continuous learning is the minimum requirement for success in any field. We're doing this podcast, and we have so many things that we could share just behind the scenes that we've learned from doing this.
Yes.
Tremaine, you talk about sometimes being in real estate. You know, there are plenty of things that you have learned being in real estate that has made you, you know, successful and will continue to make you successful. You know, the things that I've done, you know, on my job, there's plenty of things that I've learned just about people and how to interact with people and how to say certain things to help motivate people. You know, they've helped me be more successful. So continuous learning is very, very important. Just because you may be older, just because you may not be in high school anymore or whatever, or in college, and you're past that age, you can still learn something new. You can still get out there and do something totally different. You know, we were talking about it just the other day, how, you know, I think Colonel Sanders was like 60, 70 some years old when he, you know, came up with the idea for KFC. You know, this man could have been like, well, I'm 65 years old.
I'm in retirement age.
No sense in me trying to start this business with, this tasty fried chicken that I got, but he said, no, I'm going to learn something different. I'm quite sure, I don't know his complete story, but maybe he had tried his hand at some business ventures before that didn't work, but that's the one that worked. He had learned, he continuously learned. Maybe his story, again, I don't know his story. Maybe it was just on a whim, like, hey, I think I'm going to do this. And he put the time in and the effort, and he learned. And KFC was one of the most, successful fast food companies there are in America right now, in the world, actually. So I mean, you always can learn. I think about plenty of stories about certain actors didn't start until they were late in their career, or someone didn't write a book until they were like 50 years old in these things. So just because you may not be in your 20s, talking to my fellow men out there who not as young as they used to be or whatever, but just because you're not in your 20s anymore, that doesn't mean you can't learn something new. Yep. And start a whole new career path, and that's going to lead to generational wealth of some sort.
Yeah, because like even with like Chadwick Boseman, and like he's gone now, but like I was surprised when he died that he was older, because I just thought he was younger, just the roles he was playing, and then like how aggressive he was. I thought he was just younger because he was just doing movie after movie after movie. He was just like really grinding. And like now I see that, he was sick during some of that time, and it was like he was grinding for his family. And then I thought about like how Dame Dash said that he doesn't grind for his first name, but he grinds for his last name. Mm-hmm. And, that's something that I really like. That's why I feel like kids should bring the best out of us.
Yeah.
They should. When you have a child, it's like you get motivated. When you have your second child, it's like it should go to another level. Like I got more that I need to do now,
Yeah.
So I think about that, and I thought about like even Samuel L. Jackson, and like he had started a little bit later in life. He wasn't like really, really young. And
Morgan Freeman's another one.
Yeah, Tyler Perry, all the stuff he had to go through to get to where he's at right now. And he was later in life. Not really old guys, but like I said, they weren't like in their early 20s or anything like that. So we got to stay motivated. In your 20s, man, you're trying to figure things out. In your 30s, you're starting to get things together. In your 40s, you really want to start getting a nice stride to get to where you want to be. And I look at my dad. I work with my dad a lot, and my dad is in his 70s. And it's a few things that I look at from him and I've learned from him is changing with the times. Not necessarily taking a stand down. He still believes in what he believes in. There's certain principles that he had 40 years ago. He had principles then, and he still holds them true today. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to technology and things like that, he wants to learn. Mm-hmm. He wants to be better. He wants to be the best he can be. And like I said, he's past retirement age. And he still has that motivation of, I want to be the best I can be. And the keys to that is he keeps youth around him.
Yeah.
He keeps young minds around him. And I thought about a lot of businessmen, they don't have a I know it all attitude. If I got a big corporation, I'm not going to try and put everything on my shoulders. Well, I need to think of all the ideas. I need to be in the loop on every little thing. I'm going to put smart people. I'm going to put the brightest, the smartest people around me and use them as a resource to get the business to where I want it to be.
Yeah.
It all doesn't fall on me, but it takes a certain amount of humility for a man to do that.
Exactly.
To delegate that. And I think I can't remember the guy's first name, but Ford. He made the Ford vehicles.
Henry Ford.
Henry Ford. They talk like a lot of, he was making a lot of money back in the early, I think it was the early 90s. I mean, not the early
1900s.
the early 1900s. He was making a lot of money. And I was reading in a book where a lot of the reporters, they were saying, Henry Ford is not as smart as everybody thinks he is. So they brought in a panel and started asking him questions like, I don't know, man. They would ask him like ridiculous questions about like history or what president did this and things like that. And he sat right there in his office. He brought them all in there. And when they asked him a question, he would pick up the phone and he would call somebody who could answer the question for him.
Yeah.
And then when they asked another question, he would just call the next person and say, hey, what's the answer to this question? And he would answer. And he did that again and again and again. And it's like, use your resources, the people around you. He might have been an old dog at that point, but he was able to use the people around him to learn those new tricks.
That's right.
I don't have to be the smartest person in the room. And matter of fact, if I have a business and I'm the smartest person in the room, that's a problem.
Yeah, you in the wrong room.
Yeah. Yeah. So you always want to put yourself around smart and youth, because they're into the technology and they're into what's new and what's going on, what's popular. And then you can put your twist on their ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like even in the home and with your dad council, I try my best to put more experienced people in my dad council than I am. I try and put people that are smarter than me in my dad council. Might not be overall, quote unquote, smarter than me, but they should be more knowledgeable than me when it comes to raising my son.
Right.
You know, so, and I feel like too, that was one thing that I was interested in when I found my wife. I wanted somebody smart. You know what I'm saying? Because the things that I wanted to accomplish, I needed somebody else to be thinking along with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Two minds better than one.
That's right.
So
you got to be adaptable. You
yes.
know, you got to be adaptable, even as you grow older. Another thing I just wanted to say is just you got to be adaptable. Never get too stagnant to where you feel like you can't learn this, or you know this, or you know that. You know, like you said, put the right people around you and be adaptable. Be adaptable to changes that may come.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Because changes are gonna come.
That's constant. Change is come. The constant thing about change is that change is gonna come, right?
Yeah. You got anything else on the topic?
I don't.
All right. Well, you're listening to the Dad Rules podcast with Mario E and Kid. And guys, we'll catch you guys next time. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Dad Rules podcast with your host, Mario E and Kid. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, follow and like us on Facebook and Instagram. You can find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Breaker, and Player FM. Till next time.